Hello, and welcome to Addicted Like Us, a podcast discussing all things written by Krista and Becca Ritchie. I'm your host, Haley, and today I have Zoe, aka Dear Reader Zoe, with me to talk about Long Way Down, Book 9 in the Addicted series. Before we go any further, this is part 3 of the Long Way Down discussion, so make sure you go back and listen to parts 1 and 2 before you listen to this. A quick recap, I'm Haley, a longtime reader and lover of Krista and Becca's work. I'm also a part-time illustrator, and I had the privilege of working on the special edition covers for the Like Us series. Now I just love to spend my time talking about all my favorite books, aka anything written by Krista and Becca. So the Addicted Like Us podcast was created so I could sit down with friends and discuss all of our thoughts. So let me reintroduce you to Zoe.
Hi. So I'm also a long-time lover of Krista and Becca's writing, specifically, obviously, the Addicted series, and I'm very, very happy to be here because these are the books that actually connected Haley and I and started our friendship. So it's extra special to talk about, and I think actually one of the very first things that we connected over was our love for Reich and Daisy.
All right, so a quick recap of what we discussed last time, and for those that are listening, you will not be able to tell, but there were months between recording parts 1 and 3, or parts 2 and 3, so this is also a recap for ourselves too. But basically, Reich and Daisy are engaged, and they have really decided that they want to start their family, and are taking like the big steps to try and get pregnant. So Daisy had cysts on her ovaries. She's had surgery to remove them on one of her ovaries, and they're going to try and conceive naturally if they can. And they're leaving surrogacy with Rose as like a back burner option. And I think those are like the big things. What happened in the last part, I just remember the last chapter that we talked about, which was they had the engagement party.
Oh, yeah.
And Reich has also discovered that Jonathan, his dad, has come to him and told him that Willow is actually Jonathan Hale's daughter. So now Reich has another half sibling. So Willow doesn't know yet. And I think those are like the really big parts of this.
Yeah. I think the only other bit we've had is that Rose and Connor obviously accompanied Reich and Daisy to the doctor's office. And there's a little bit of tension between the couples because they maybe don't agree or kind of approve or really just understand the reasoning behind Reich and Daisy's decisions and why they're choosing to try naturally rather than what like Rose and Connor see as very safe surrogacy. And there's a lot of discussion also about Reich's rock climbing.
Yeah, there's like a parallel there of Reich and Daisy just go hardcore at everything, whether it's these fertility issues or just like their passions in life.
Yeah, so that's definitely in the background. I think we discussed that a little bit at length. We were like, you can kind of see where Rose and Connor and even like Lo comes from, but also then, especially because this is from Reich and Daisy's perspective, because it's their book, you can also see why for them and these two wild, adventurous people, they're making those choices, even though they're definitely hard for their family.
They're all different people. We got to respect that. But yeah, you're right. It has caused tension between Reich and Connor, most especially, because Reich has always just been that kind of guy that like he forges his own path and he has never really wanted someone to tell him what he should or shouldn't be doing. And Connor's over here like really trying to nudge him in a certain direction. He's like,
yeah.
And he got upset because Connor questioned it in front of Daisy, and Reich doesn't like that. It makes Reich look weak and like he can't take care of Daisy. All right, so we are now on chapter 14. They are grocery shopping super early in the morning because of their fame. They have to, at this point, they try to go to the store before it opens, like, and get the special privilege of like shopping when there's no one else there, which I like that they still want to like maintain some sense of normalcy by like shopping themselves. Cause in theory, they could have like assistants buy their groceries for them. And they're like, no, we're going to go do the grocery shopping and take care of it. We just can't have all of these people around us.
Yeah. And I think it just speaks to all their characters. They want to, obviously none of them really planned on any of this happening and the fame that they have, and they want to keep as much as they can Even though
Yes.
like we obviously think the more logical thing would be to send someone else, or, well, I guess I have to remember that this is set further back in time. Like, would they be able to just order online or?
Yeah, I that occurred to me and I was like, I don't really remember. This is like 2016, 2017, I
Yeah,
think. I don't really know if like Instacart was really a big thing back then.
yeah,
But yeah, I do think it's interesting. It's more a thing that comes up as like a parallel between the Like Us and the Addicted series, that these guys grew up with a more sense of anonymity and not being recognized by the public. So it seems they still try and cling to some of that when they can. But yeah, so they're out shopping and Daisy wants to have this like conversation with Reich about her plans to get pregnant. She has this idea that she wants him to have sex with her every day, even if she's not fully feeling it, just
yeah,
because she doesn't want to like miss her opportunity. And Reich is just sort of he's hesitant about this idea. He's like, you're not aroused all the time, which is part of her like fertility issues, comes with like a low sex drive. And he doesn't want to hurt her. That's his whole thing. He's never wanted to hurt Daisy. And most especially during sex, because a lot of her exes have used her in the past when it comes to their sexual relationship, and he doesn't want to be one of those guys.
yeah.
So,
And I think there's a great quote. I think it's from Hot House Flower, that it's always like his pleasure comes from giving her pleasure. So it's a very hard request for
yeah.
Daisy to, or for Reich to process from Daisy, when like he can see her reasoning, but he's like, it kind of goes against everything that he is with
Yeah.
in their relationship.
And she really has to like, she does have to kind of urge him a little. And he relents just because it's Daisy and he wants to give her whatever she wants. But there's also the stipulation that like, it's okay. If you're not feeling it that day, we're not going to have sex. End of story. It's okay. We're not going to go crazy with this. And yeah, I think that's,
Yeah, I think the rest of the chapters, it's quite cute and like general, like Daisy and
yeah.
Reich flirting in the
Yes.
aisle, a little bit of cute with the other couples. And it's kind of their quite deep conversations splattered in with like their fun
Yeah.
flirtiness.
But there's this one part at the end, like at the end of their discussion about having sex every day, where she's like, I just like the idea of being close to you every day during this process, not just for a short week every month. And he goes, fine, but it doesn't have to be every day. If you're not in the mood, it can be every 2 days. Like, we're just going to go off of how you feel. And she's like, did you research this? And he goes, I'm trying to get you fucking pregnant. Of course I researched. Of course I looked it up.
Yeah,
And she's like, oh my God, it again.
that is such a cute part. Oh. And he's
But
just like, I mean, you kind of know already, but it's just like he's as involved in this as
yes,
Daisy is. He wants the
yes,
baby as badly as she does.
yes. It sometimes feels like, because it's more a problem that Daisy is experiencing, it's not necessarily Reich's problem. Physically, it's not his problem. That it feels like Daisy's fighting harder for this, but Reich's fighting just as hard to have a family with her. That's something he's
Definitely.
wanted to. Yeah. But then, yes, the rest of the chapter is them like flirting. There's like a part at the very beginning too where they're just having like their normal thing where he's like looking at these different boxes of granola or something, and she's like, he does this every time, and then he picks the same granola, but we go through the same song and dance of him comparing the two. And they decide that they're ready to go. They're starting to notice a crowd forming outside. It's getting close to opening for the grocery store, so they're trying to usher everyone. There's a cute moment where they still need milk or orange juice. I think it may be orange juice, one of the two. And they're not in the right aisle, so like Daisy gets up on Reich and is trying to flag Lillian Low down. Daisy is like miming that she wants milk, and she goes, it should be
Yeah.
noted. It should be noted that I've never been good at trade. Because Lily is blushing and she's like, what's wrong with, like, are we doing something wrong? Because they also bring up this whole thing with, that was discussed more in Addicted After All, that one of the things that Lily struggled with being around Reich and Daisy is the fact that it's flirty racy. They're very PDA heavy. And sometimes It can trigger some compulsions with her sex addiction. And they've been trying, and Daisy mentions that they've been trying really hard not to like trigger Lily at all. So
Yeah.
that's just like a small little reminder. But Reich winds up calling Lo, and he asks him like, why was Lily blushing? And it was, yeah, Daisy was making a gesture that did not look like drinking.
No.
No. But then they finally get up to the register and they're getting ready to check out, and they notice this crowd seems really hostile. They're actually outside chanting "Die, Calloway Sisters, die," which is not the kind of public attention that they're used to.
Exactly.
And at this point, they have no idea why they're getting so much hate. Also, I would like it known that I find it, I mean, it's a book. It's going to be a little over the top. But like the fact that there are these people out here that are creating posters to go to a grocery store and chant this at them, like, Christ.
You think, do these people not have jobs? Like on like the weekday morning, you're like, I think you have to be at a job. Wouldn't you be at school?
Well, yeah, the school thing, because I think it's
the
other thing I
process.
thought was mildly funny / strange is that like some of these, we'll talk about it, or they mention it later, that like some of these people look like they're like 10 or 11 years old, which, one, you are I don't know that a 10 or 11-year-old should be that passionate about an adult reality show. Why were you watching Princesses of Philly?
Exactly.
Who was like,
that was not appropriate for them. It's so, I think we've talked about this so much, that how the like so-called fans in the series react is so unhinged and uncalled for, and it's never, and to a lot of Addicted and like us and general Krista and Becca fans, we're like, oh, the characters feel so real to us, but we're still like, that's completely unhinged. Like, how would you ever react that way to characters who are kind of similar in the books, who are like, oh, they would say they're obsessed, they're big fans, they're like mega fans of, you know, Princesses of Philly and the Callaways and like the whole group, but they just act like very unfan-like behavior.
Yes. Yeah. So they have the kids with them. Maximoff and Jane are with them on this shopping trip. So it's Lily and Rose take the kids to the cars, and then the rest of them get escorted out to the vehicles. And as they're loading them, the girls are all in the car at this point. The girls are in the cars with the babies, and it's like Reich and Lo, I think, are loading one of the cars, and all of a sudden there's just someone comes up and throws a bag. It hits Lo in the face, and he is covered in flour. He was just flour bombed.
Yeah.
And that's the point where Reich turns around and he's like, why are you, or maybe it was a little earlier than that, of like, you guys are so upset with us. You're calling us ungrateful. They don't know why, but they're also talking to these fans being like, that was your fault for putting all of, like, we're human. We're going to make mistakes. You are over here expecting us to be perfect and make all the right decisions. But you fell in love with a flawed human, and that's what you're going to get. And they're not going to change for that.
And the fans, they're so entitled. They feel like they're entitled to something.
Yes.
When I think, you know, when you read through the earlier books since Princesses of Philly, they've never talked about doing another one. There's never really been anything from their side that like really would have given these like fans the idea that something else is coming. And then for them to be so angry and like screaming such like verbal abuse at them, and then to go so far as like flower bomb Lo.
Yeah.
And ambush them at a grocery store, when there's been, just because you found out like, you know, they're not going to do anymore. Yeah. They never gave you the idea that they would. So
yeah.
And I think like Reich kind of says stuff along that line, but also it's inferred for the reader to be like, why have you put all your like such hopes and dreams onto getting another season when well, I guess like the tabloids probably did, but no one actually gave them it.
Right. Yes, what they're basically upset about at this point is during the engagement party, there was a guy, one of their family friends was trying to pitch them a new reality show called Queens of Philadelphia, and they firmly shut it down. They were like, absolutely not. We're not doing that ever again. And it has eventually got to the media, and they had just posted that Celebrity Crush posted that they're not doing another reality show. And I think it's so shady because in GBA was the ones that had aired Princesses of Philly, and they were like completely locked into this contract with them that like they could never air anything on network television unless it was through GBA. And then they did all of this shady shit in Fuel the Fire of like canceling Haleco contracts and sending Scott to the house to try and manipulate them into doing a new season with the kids involved. And they like, and then it all unraveled with Scott being a fucking pedophile and getting arrested and his whole involvement. And that like obviously negated the whole contract with GBA, but now they're over here being like, well, we offered them the opportunity multiple times and offered them plenty of money and they refused us all the time. Like, you're so fucking shady, GBA.
Yeah, it's such bullshit.
It is. But when Daisy and Lily share this news with Lo and Reich, there's like this sense of, well, the fans do support us though. Like, they're the ones that are going to Superheroes and Scones and buying Howley comics and going to like Rose's boutique. They want to support these people because they're fans, and they feel like there's like this slight sense of obligation that maybe we do need to give them something. And it's one of those moments of like older kids club. Reich, the older kids club is Reich, Connor, and Rose. And right now, Reich is the only one in the car. And so it's Lily, Daisy, and Lo. And they're all like, yeah, I don't know. And Reich's like, I need Connor and Rose over here because I need help like convincing these younger ones to get on the same page.
Yeah. I think it's so sad that they have to feel like they owe anyone something.
Yeah. Which Reich is trying to tell them, like, they don't owe them anything. That's like, they are choosing to support Lily and Lo. And if they disagree with a decision from Lily and Lo, that's their prerogative to not continue to support it. That's it.
So yeah, they kind of have a lot of just chatting about it as they're driving, and Moffy's in the car being, his little adorable self.
He's so cute. I think it's funny too because there's also a moment in Fuel the Fire where there's like a text thread between Lily and Lo of like, Moffy said poop. His first word is going to be poop because we're saying poop too much around him or something like that. And then in this one, they're like, it's all just bullshit. And Moffy goes, shit.
Yeah.
And Lo's like, yeah, you're right, little man. It is shit.
Oh,
And I'm
always obsessed over those tiny little interactions.
Yes, it's so cute.
Yeah, I think the chapter kind of ends with them. They're quite rattled, I think, by Lo being firebombed, and they discuss how fans have been very physical in the past.
Yes.
And, kind of also how Daisy, she just can't go through Princesses of Philly again.
Right.
Everyone's agreeing with her and supporting her, and then also, but yeah, she's like, I think it is Daisy who says, that people disliked her relationship with Reich so much that she was slushied 3 times just walking into like a Lucky's diner. And there's definitely, I think she's like quite worried inside about what's going to happen now.
I do,
especially since.
Yeah. No, well, I was going to say, I do love that, like, I think Daisy's the one that says, I can't do another season of this. And it's like, if Rose wants to do it and you're going to do it with her, then I'm sorry, I can't join. And Lily's immediately like, no, I'm not doing it without you. And I just love that, like, sisterly support. There was a time when Daisy would be left behind. And in this moment, it's like, no, I'm actually going with you. Like, if you're going to be over there, I'm following you. You're the leader here. And I love that.
Her relationship with Lily and Rose has come so far. And
it has.
As a Daisy lover, who it was quite painful reading some of those parts of Hot House Flower, and even like the going back and reading, in the first couple books, it's like, oh, it's like finally, so happy for Daisy to have that finally.
Yes. And yeah, the chapter basically ends with Reich just promising that nothing's gonna hurt Daisy. Like, he will make sure that no one hurts her. So then the next chapter, they are traveling to go
rock climbing.
Yes. Adam Sully has like sent Reich location to try out a rock face that they should try out. He's never climbed it before. So they kind of have to hike through the woods to get to this place and check it out. And on the way, they get real flirty and decide that, you know, they're gonna have sex. It's fine. Daisy was in the mood. That's what they want.
And it's so them to have sex in the middle of the forest.
Yes, they're just like up against a tree. But there's this whole thing with like Daisy's very visual, and he like records the moment and hands her the video so she can watch. And I'm just sitting here like, oh my God, guys, Rose and Connor have sex tapes. Please, please, we need to be a little careful.
Even I think that's probably just like from our like childhoods and like both of our like just a generational thing where even if we didn't know like Rose and Connor already have a sex tape, I'm just like in my brain I'm always like, no, not like explicit material on your phone. That is not secure. I feel like it's just bound to go wrong.
Yes. And I didn't mention it in the recap, but the other thing is like Daisy's high school friends have popped up because they're trying to get on this reality show now that Daisy's like famous or whatever. And the thing with it is like Daisy keeps blocking their phone numbers and they're still reaching out to her. And I'm over here like, okay, well, clearly your phones and your phone numbers are not that secure if these stupid girls are getting in contact with her, guys.
I know.
Be careful,
like,
it's please. On your phone.
Because it's like, oh, you know, like Reich really, really knows Daisy and will like does anything to make sure that she's comfortable and like she's having the good time in the moment like he is. But it really is like, please, no.
But for the moment, they're totally fine. Everything's fine. We're just enjoying the fact that, you know, they're enjoying their moment. And then they get to this rock face and Sully shows up. Oh my God. They're like,
I love his character.
I love his character, but they're like, I see his green Jeep and I'm over here like, oh, right. Yes.
Yeah.
His green Jeep. Yep. It's fine. I'm totally fine right now.
Try not to think about it.
Yeah. And so they get to this rock face and Reich's like checking it out. And there's definitely like, it doesn't look like necessarily the safest, the one that anyone would maybe climb, but Daisy.
But this is Reich and Adam, you know.
Yes, and Daisy can sense that there's like this excitement in Reich in attempting to climb this, and he's getting ready to start ascending, and Daisy's just sort of watching his whole process of like, what are you gonna do? And he's like talking about how he's gonna solo climb after Sully. So Sully's gonna go up and like try and clear the path for him, set some stuff, and then he'll climb it. And I assume he says solo climb, but I assume that means solo climb is climbing alone but with safety measures. So he's not free soloing yet, but still like mildly dangerous. So she like pauses for a minute and is like, doesn't Sully usually solo climb with you? And Reich kind of talks about there are certain circumstances where he is and when he doesn't. And Daisy's like, you know, you can tell me what your plans are, because Reich is kind of it feels like Reich is hiding certain things about what he's doing because he understands there's this level of danger and he doesn't want to scare Daisy. But she's over here like, I'm so happy that you're bringing me along. Like, I want to be a part of this. This is what you love, and you're bringing me to it, and you can tell me about it, and I will still support you. Like, you don't need to hide this from me.
Yeah, who Reich is the way he is, and that's why she loves him. And it's obviously his discussions with Connor and a little bit of Lo that are influencing him. But yeah, it is really nice. And again, like, they're just so perfect together. And she's like, exactly like you said, you don't have to hide it from me. I love you because of who you are and what you do. And she's just happy to be like included and just tell me. You don't need to hide anything.
You've included me in something you love, and I'm only grateful and so happy you've shared this with me. I would hate it if you never told me when you're climbing, or if you drove 5 hours without me and did everything alone. And then he talks to her in Italian, and she mentions that like whenever he does speak to her in Italian, it's usually in like more intimate moments. So this is clearly like a very touching moment between the two of them. And then they're like having this bit. And then Sully's like, "You guys are so cute. I can't wait to get to the wedding."
Aww.
Or like, yeah. He's like, "Can a guy appreciate romance? Will there be tissues at the wedding? Because I'm a crier. That it is if I'm invited. I am invited, right?" Like, yes, Sully, you're invited.
But yeah, so Daisy's actually climbing with Adam.
Yes.
To the top.
She's gonna climb,
and then,
yeah. And then there's
so I think
that bit though, like you see the silliness between Reich and Sully, where he like calls him Ginger Rude, and like they're calling each other names, and then it turns to "Don't drop my fiance," and Sully's like "On my life," and I love that there's like this goofiness, but there's also like there's this very seriousness and in their relationship.
You can tell they've been friends for a really long time.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think it did talk about solo climbing. So I think, Daisy climbs with Adam to the top, and Reich follows them, and he solo climbs up once using, the anchor that Adam has set and a rope. But now he's going to free solo it. So he's no longer going to be attached to the rope.
Yes. So they're up at the top of this cliff face, and they're just waiting for Reich to climb. It's at first just a moment of like Daisy says that she knows that she should be back from the edge because she doesn't want Reich to freak out seeing her head like pop out over a 150-foot rock face. So she's just talking with Sully, and it's so sweet because she's just like catching up with him because Sully travels all over. She mentions that like a lot of the times he lives out of his car and is just driving around looking for different places to climb. That's his nomadic lifestyle. But she says that like Reich is different whenever Sully is in town and is climbing with him. There's just like something happier about being with his best friend, which is totally fine.
So cute.
But then,
and there's this sweet moment. Sully also says, that Reich's happier with Daisy. They've all come a long way, and they really deserve that.
We're both smiling for a long moment because being the cause of someone's happiness, well, that feels like love, doesn't it? Yeah, Reich loves both Sully and Daisy, yeah. And then, as I mentioned, Harper and Cleo are busy texting Daisy all of this stupid stuff about like, oh my God, don't pay attention to what the trolls are saying online. They're saying this, but don't pay attention to it.
Yeah, it's so shady, passive aggressive, like trying to hide who they really are, but like, no one's stupid. I feel like they think they're being their mean girls, but they're also like, oh, but we're like actually being a bit slick. Daisy's just gonna read this and be like, oh, like we're being friendly, and it's like, no, it's so underhanded, everything, and it's so like we said, she keeps blocking it because she's protecting her peace, and she knows she's in therapy, she's grown a lot, Daisy. She knows that she doesn't need to see this and she shouldn't have to, but then they just continue to get access.
And then she also gets a text from her dad, and it's that her bodyguard has quit and her dad is currently looking for someone to replace him. It's quick, but something to remember. And then as she's getting this, all of a sudden they hear these people calling, and it's like a reporter and a cameraman or somebody like that down at the bottom of this cliff face, and they're shouting at Reich while he's in the middle of climbing, and like he's free soloing. It requires a lot of concentration, and these people have suddenly found them in this very remote area, like cause for concern. They find them? And not something that Reich should be focusing on right now. He should be focusing on not falling off the edge of a cliff.
Exactly.
And it's very scary.
Yeah. The paparazzi and the reporters in this series are there's a lot of like villainous people. They're genuinely just like, they're so, again, the entitlement of like, oh, there's this like a celebrity or like a public figure, they owe us the time or like answers of this question. It's like, you have eyes. You can see that this man is like clinging with literally his fingertips and like his like his toes, that's all that's holding him up, like 100 feet up or 100. He's almost at the top, I think. So, he's very, very high up. And they're like, this is a great time for us to ask questions and shout up at him. And they're like, yeah, he'll just turn around and answer the questions for us. Like, they don't have,
Just like,
I feel like they don't have brain cells to rub
no,
together.
I would love to know their thought process of like, oh, well, if he dies, it's going to come out that like us talking to him distracted him and killed him. And he's a public, like, I mean, people are upset with them, but still a wildly beloved public figure. And we killed him.
Exactly. I'm
What
like,
do you think is going to happen to you?
can we think this through? It's so crazy.
It is.
And it is very stressful. I mean, it's very stressful for Adam and Daisy. Obviously, it's very stressful for Reich. It's very stressful as the reader. You're like, especially reading it for the first time, you're like, oh my God, what? Like, this man is not attached by anything.
Right. Especially because it's been constantly reiterated to us how dangerous what he's doing is. And yeah, so like Daisy's obviously very scared. She actually had Sully tell the reporters to like try and convince them to go away or they're gonna kill Reich. Because she doesn't feel able to do it herself. They don't listen to him. And there's this bit where Reich, there's like a certain section that requires a lot of focus. He's like almost inverted, I think is.
Yeah.
I don't know how exactly to picture it, but like it's a really challenging part of the cliff face and requires his full focus. And it's really scary because he's like trying to pull himself up and he's like screaming in frustration that he can't seem to do it. And like for Reich, it's this stress of like, oh my God, I might fall and die. But also Daisy is up at the top of this cliff face and like, I don't want to die in front of her. Like she's been alone her entire life and I don't want to leave her alone either. Like that would break her heart.
Exactly.
And there's like that added stress for him. But he does eventually get over that hard bit and he just has to continue climbing. So Daisy watches him and then like rolls back so that she's not like hanging over the cliff face and being stressed. She's just laying on the ground being really scared. And then Reich.
And she stays very quiet, I think, as well, to like just like holding in her own fear to really allow Reich to concentrate 100% on just, she's like, he just needs to get up here.
Yeah. And then
he makes it and we're like,
he does.
You.
And it's just like this moment of like she's laying down on her back, like so scared and stressed. And then Reich comes, like Reich finishes and collapses down right next to her. And he's clearly very exhausted from that. And she goes, hey. And he goes, hey. And she goes,
yeah,
you're alive.
Oh, they're so, I feel like that's also so nice. They really don't need to say a lot. There's a lot that's said, in italics and it's said in their glances at each other and they can read each other so perfectly and they know what they need after such a stressful moment. Oh my God.
Yeah, you scared me, I love you. And he says, I'm not going anywhere, Calloway. Fucking remember that. And then his eyes hold a single apology, like, I'm sorry, I don't make it easy on you. And then she's like, he doesn't have to apologize. I'll remember, I promise.
Yeah.
It's like, even after that horribly scary moment, if it was like Lo that witnessed this, he'd be like, you're never going on a fucking cliff face again. I don't care. And Daisy's over here like, I'll remember. You can do this again. It's okay.
Yeah, exactly. I think, she has times when she's as scared as Lo, but she also knows that, like, Reich needs this to live.
Yes.
It's an intrinsic part of his
soul.
Personality, his soul, exactly, his whole being.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, so then Sully has this moment of like, wow, you guys are like really famous. But then it leads to this whole thing of, in order to mitigate some of the craziness of the paparazzi and all of that, the wedding is going to be international. And they don't know which country yet, but it is going to be in South America.
Yeah. Very cute. They go through like talking with Sully and what the options are. And they're like, well, we've narrowed it down.
Yes.
And it feels very fitting to them.
It does. So, yeah. Okay. So
but speaking of Lo, actually,
yes.
Now we come on with chapter 19.
Yes. So right now, Reich is in the car with all of the other girls. Lily, Rose, Daisy, and Willow are all in the car with Reich.
Ooh, actually, to stop on that, I was going to say in the chapter before, right at the beginning of chapter 18, it does have like a little Easter egg comment when it does talk about like, oh, Daisy's thinking about her sisters, and like she hopes that when she shows them what she's been working on, that they'll be happy and supportive. And it's like one line, but I think it ties in really nicely to what's coming, because it's when we were rereading it, I was like, oh, there's this little throwback.
Yeah.
But yeah, then it gets kind of lost in a very stressful chapter.
Yes. So keep it in the
You
back of
just
your mind
reminded
with
me.
this one. So they're in the car driving somewhere. Daisy has a surprise for her sisters, and they're on their way there. They don't know what it is that they're going to. And yeah, Reich is on the phone with Lo at the moment, and Lo is like so furious. He's like, what's wrong with humanity? Has everyone completely lost their shit? And he's like not just been angry, he's like actually taking legal steps and filed a complaint with Celebrity Crush. Like,
I'm glad he did, yeah.
yes, he's like doing the big things kind of to try and stop this. And it mostly devolves into this whole topic of like, Reich is still going to climb after this, and Lo can't do anything about it. He's like, you could have died. And Reich's like, yeah, well, I could die any time on a rock face. It is
I
what it
think
is.
so. The issue particularly is Lo and Connor don't want him to stop climbing. They want him to stop free climbing.
Yeah.
Or free soloing in particular.
Yes.
I think if Reich was to only climb, he would climb with a harness on and attached to a rope, there would be no issues. But
yeah,
it's completely different for him to be free soloing than traditional climbing.
Yes. He wants a certain level of like freedom that comes with, and the danger that comes with free solo climbing, and not necessarily
the
having
reward when he gets up there as well.
Yeah. I don't know if it necessarily says, I can't remember if it is, maybe it's a weekly thing and not necessarily a day specific, but Ike's on the phone with Lo, and all of a sudden he can hear like Connor in the background. He's like, have I been on speakerphone? Are you two eating together? And I like it because we'll see eventually that like all of the guys will eventually have this weekly lunch date, but this is the very beginning of it with Lo and Connor having lunch. They're having Mexican together. But I do really like that Reich had said at the beginning there was some part of him that was like jealous because Lo and Connor's offices are so close in the city that Connor, like that the two of them can just pop into each other's offices for lunch, and that's not something that Reich can do. And he was like, Connor's gonna get closer to my brother than me.
And that's definitely something that happened in the first couple books as well, when he was like, just meeting his brother, or like the beginning of their relationship, and he was like, well, like he's already like best friends with Connor, and kind of like, oh, is Connor taking my place, and being stressed about that, which is very similar to Daisy as well, I think. Not that someone's taking her place, but that there isn't any place for her.
Yeah. But Reich says, like, now I just try to remember that we're not competing for his attention, even if Connor sometimes acts like we are. But I do like that he's like slowly learning that Connor has a place in Lo's life, but Reich also has like a very permanent place in Lo's life, and he can't be shoved out. And then Reich congratulates Lo because it is officially 2 years since Hot House Flower, where he broke his sobriety for the last time. So Lo is 2 years sober at this point, and
which is huge.
Yes, but he congratulates Lo and is like, you did a lot of hard work staying sober, and he kind of expects Lo to be a little sassy about it. And Lo's like very genuinely like, thanks for everything, because Reich has helped him through this really, like, he's been his sober coach since the beginning, and I love that he does really appreciate all of the work that Reich has put into when it comes to Lo's sobriety and helping him and being there for him.
I mean, that's just like the best part of the series, I think. And the whole thing is like the character relationships and the bonds between, I mean, yes, the siblings, but just genuinely like everyone. Yes. It's so special, and especially when it's just kind of splattered in like that. Like that, but it's very little, just like a couple like nonchalant sentences, and it's so touching.
Yes. So then they hang up. Or no. Yeah, they do hang up.
They do.
And now Reich is like paying attention to the sisters and their whole dynamic in the car. Lily is driving and she's like, why am I driving? And it's because Lily is the best driver of the whole bunch. And Rose is over here like, I'm clearly the best driver. I don't understand why I'm not behind the wheel. Because I think Lily is driving Rose's car.
Yes.
And she's like,
it did feel like it's like a big like Escalade. I was like, this is definitely a Rose and Connor car.
yes, for sure. And Reich's like, I mean, I'll give her some credit. She does haul this thing into the city and parallel parks it, which props to you, girl. That is some good driving. It's something we'll even see in the Leica series. Lily has always been considered like one of the safest drivers.
Yeah. And I think that's really nice for her to have that as well. People rely on her for driving.
Yeah.
And that's like a really nice thing for for Lily to have.
Yes. And meanwhile, Willow is sitting in the car and Reich's trying to connect with her. And it's really hard. There's like this awkward tension that they're feeling. And Daisy has tried to assure him that it's not a him thing. It's just like this idea that Willow has to get her head wrapped around, that she doesn't have just one older brother. Now she has another older brother, and Lo is known for being a fierce, protective older brother, but Reich also has this fierce protectiveness around him, and now she's like, so now it's like compounded. There are two of them that are like this, and it's something that she just has to get her head wrapped around, and it'll take some time for her. And Reich's over here like, well, I want that time to speed up and just like be able to connect with my sister. And there's like a whole bit where he like talks about anybody who's like connected with a sibling later in life, please tell me how you did it, because I've been having a really hard time with it.
Yeah.
A poor expert at this.
Poor guy, he's got to go through it so many times.
He does, truly. But he does ask Willow how she's been, and there's like one thing that I thought was something to keep in the back of our minds, which is that Superheroes and Scones, where Willow is working right now, is hosting this comic book character contest where they're trying to come up with a new character to be included in Howley Comics. And it's just a very intense, like, people are taking it very seriously. It's an intense kind of competition, but just something to remember. But then Reich, the conversation shifts to the fact that Willow has heard from Jonathan. Like, the whole thing that started this was that Jonathan wants to connect with Willow, and Reich doesn't necessarily want him to, because they know how Jonathan is. He's very coarse, harsh, and he has, like, that's just his personality, and he's never had a daughter. And Willow is more reserved and soft and like the complete opposite of Jonathan Hale. So they just want Jonathan to like treat her kindly.
Exactly. And that's
like
obviously not the experience they've had.
No.
There, I think Willow is more like, oh, like, yeah, I'm interested in like getting to know my dad. And Reich and Lo are like, well, that's maybe not the best idea. And they want to protect her.
Yes.
As best as they can. And so, I think she says that he's asked to meet, like, Jonathan has asked to meet Willow at the country club for lunch.
And you notice too that like she says the country club, and we've seen in flashbacks like what that country club has meant to Reich, is like that was his place to meet his dad when he was hiding his identity of who he was. So there are like negative connotations with that. But you see the rest of the car also reacts to hearing about, like, everybody understands what that means. Not good.
Exactly.
But then
it does kind of, like you're I think you're about to say it.
He's like, can I go with you? And she goes, you want to go? I thought Lo said that you don't like him. I don't, but I want to be there for you. You're my fucking sister.
Yeah. And it's really sweet because Willow goes, do you think Lo would want to come as well? And it's really, like Reich's just been lamenting how he's struggling to connect with Willow. But I think also you kind of see that Willow is struggling a little bit as well. She's like, oh, you want to come? Like, you think Lo would want to come? So, aw.
So cute. So then it ends there because all of a sudden Daisy is like shouting instructions that Lily missed a turn.
So it gets a bit chaotic again.
Yes.
But yeah,
And Lily almost misses a turn, but yeah, it's getting chaotic. Daisy climbs into Reich's lap and is like being all flirty with him, and she's like trying to roll down the window and stick her head out. And then the window gets locked, and Lily's like, "You're not jumping out of the car, not while I'm driving. You need to be sitting in your seat with your seatbelt on. Click it or ticket." So cute.
or you can also see like the mom, Lily, like as the mom coming through as well.
So true. She's a safe driver and she will make sure that all of her passengers make it to a destination safely. So
And it's cute. And then there's like the like a little bit of discourse with, well, not discourse, but like again, like cute, snappy, witty between the sisters, between Reich and the sisters, and just
yes,
it's always so fun to read.
I love it. There's a moment to just like think about the fact that Reich is surrounded by all of these girls. Just, something to remember. Yes. So then they finally
they arrive.
And it just is private property. It's like a wooded area.
Yeah, I think it's a very picturesque property, or just area of land. But the sisters are all kind of confused. They're like, this says like residents only. Are you sure we should be here? Are we trespassing?
Yeah. And Daisy goes, "I bought this." And Lily's over here, like, super confused, like, the trees? And Rose immediately knows what's going on. She's like, she bought the land. And it's very serious the way Rose is saying it.
Yeah. And obviously Daisy doesn't want, like, disapproval from her sisters. So she zeroes in on Rose and is like, starting to explain in her explanation as she talks. This bit always gets me emotional because it's so from Daisy's soul.
So she says, "There are things in life that I've lost and experiences that I've never truly had, friends that I never made. Reich once told me this story about a boy who spent every year counting down to summer. This boy had one lasting friendship and an experience of a lifetime. Can you imagine a place where friends come together and adventures are made?"
Yeah.
And then Reich's like, "It's the most Daisy Calloway thing in the entire fucking world. A place that brings happiness to kids through wilderness friendship and thrills like ziplining and ropes courses." And Lily starts clapping, and Willow is like, "Yeah, I'm so supportive." And Rose is over here like, "Oh my God." But yes, this is the start of Camp Calloway.
We love it.
And
we all wish we could go there.
Yes. Truly. He says she has a giant forgiving heart, and no matter how many times people try to burn her, she finds a way to rise above, which is like, he has his phoenix tattoo of like rising above. Like he has risen above so much struggle in his life. Like Daisy has too. She is also rising above the people, like rising from the ashes. She's a phoenix too. I love it. They're both phoenixes.
And she's going to make this completely magical, lasting, impactful place for so many kids who, are like Reich and Daisy and like Adam, Sully. And it's so perfect.
Yeah.
But yeah, Rose is she's a little worried. She's like, how much did this cost? Where did the money come from? And you can tell it's from like a place of like, Rose is just concerned for Daisy. And like, did she like, because Rose is obviously more pragmatic, more business-minded, and they'll be like, obviously everything has the potential to not work out. And she's like, did she use all of her money? What's happening?
Yes.
And Reich is, trying to kind of...
Yeah, he says, like, even still, like, even without that money, I can still help Daisy without Greg, because Daisy has her inheritance and her trust fund.
Trust fund, yeah.
And Reich explains that, like, the trust fund's just basically an allowance, and the inheritance is, like, this imaginary money unless Greg and Samantha die. So, like, it's not necessarily something she has readily available. But he assures Rose that he will still be able to take care of her, which comes from his rock climbing sponsorships. So, like, there's this one other person that's like concerned about the fact that it's not just Reich being supported by his rock climbing. Now it's also Daisy being supported by Reich's rock climbing. And there's like,
and obviously again, it's so risky, and it's so Rose obviously isn't the most happy to think money-wise that they might not be super secure.
Yeah.
But
He goes, "Look at her face, Rose, then tell me she made a mistake." And she also goes, she then says, "Why didn't she ask for my advice? Because for the first time in her life, she knew what she really wanted, and she didn't need anyone's advice for it."
And I think that's perfect. Like everything falls into place for Rose. She sees it. And then there's, Rike's observing Daisy standing on the rock staring at the horizon with Lily and Willow, and her smile lights up like the fucking sun. There is nothing happier in the world in this moment. It's just like every time Daisy's referred to as the sun, it makes me so happy.
But I also, I appreciate that despite Rose's initial hesitation and concern over this, Reich explains, Daisy's thought process and decision making, and it clicks with Rose, and that's it. She, marches over to her sisters, and she's like, "Don't tell Daisy that I was upset." She doesn't even want Daisy to know that she had these concerns. Just a secret between her and Reich, and she is fully on board as far as Daisy is concerned. And I love that. There's none of this bulldozing trying to get Daisy to fall into line a certain way. I respect her decision making. This is what she wants. This is where she's feeling passionate. Because it's been a whole thing since the end of Hot House Flower, when she quit modeling, that she wasn't going to go back to school. So what was she going to do with her life? It's just been this whole question mark. And she's finally figured it out. And it's a big thing. And I love the sisterly support of it.
Exactly. She had her concerns, and there does need to be someone who is concerned and who asks about the logistics of something, but she can see how much it means to Daisy, and that's enough for her to be like,
Yeah, that's it.
I stand with my sister. Perfect.
Yes.
And again, they've come so far.
They have. I love it.
And it obviously meant so much to Daisy to show this to, Lily and Rose, and also Willow.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, it's so cute.
I love it. So then the next chapter, they are now on an airplane flying to Tahoe. They're in Connor's plane, which I don't know that it's necessarily called out, but I do think I think she kind of mentions it later on that it does start to feel like they're pulling away from their families, their parents a little more with this, and being more independently a family group outside of being with Greg and Samantha, because they're on Connor's plane. They're not taking the Calloway's private jet. This is something that Connor owns.
I can't remember actually if that was earlier, because I feel like we've talked about it before, because they also talk about how they use other things that are no longer their parents.
Yes, in the scene when they're at the doctor's office, Daisy talks about how she has a lawyer separate from her parents.
Yeah, and I think her own financial advisor and accountant.
Yeah.
And very much she doesn't want to be, she still, has pretty favorable opinions of Samantha and Greg, but she's definitely growing up and separating herself and, not being beholden to any of their wishes.
Yeah.
She obviously still wants, I think, their approval and their support, but I do this for myself, and in a way that, they can't overrule her if she was using, the Calloway family lawyers.
Yes. Yeah. So she just kind of sets the scene of what's going on. So it's all of the families are on this plane. Poppy and Sam and Maria are doing a puzzle, and Rose and Connor are trying to take care of Jane because she did not like the flight. She's not having a fun time, and she's crying, which is just, baby Jane's a little fussy.
Yeah, but Muffy's just totally zonked out on Lo's chest, and Lo's reading a comic, and
he's such an easy
so
baby.
Cute.
He is.
But they're all very, a little cozy, and then
they've got their
Daisy,
tiny little family units. Yeah.
Yeah, and then Reich and Daisy wander off on the plane.
Yes, but she also wonders is this how it's always going to be, where it's just fun Uncle Reich and Aunt Daisy, they're just the cool parentless aunt and uncle, which is not what she wants.
No. And I think there's never any time where Reich and Daisy speak badly of that. It's just that they know that they really want a child. There would be nothing, if in a different universe, they would very much, be totally fine doing that maybe. But in this universe, they really, really want that. And so there's no disregard for other choices, but it's like they want a baby so badly, and no one's really making them feel left out, but it does kind of, they just do feel separate and
Yeah.
a little bit, because it is their plan, left behind.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like they're like, we're not there yet.
No, they're not. So they go into one of the bathrooms and,
Have some time together.
yeah, what she's like, I have this theory, and she like loses her thought because she's just getting distracted by Reich, and then it comes back to her and she goes, my theory is that if you have sex in the air, you're one step closer to reaching godlike status because Zeus and Hera fucking the clown.
She's like, do you want to become a god with me?
And like it crossed
They're always
my
so
mind
fun.
when they said it when she says Zeus and Hera. I don't think it was it was in Thrive when they do the bowling scene. They do nicknames for Rose, Connor, and Lo. And I'm fairly certain that Connor was Zeus, but I think Rose was Athena. But as soon as I hear like Zeus and Hera, I'm thinking Rose and Connor. And then it gets brought up to, she's like, maybe we should ask Connor Cobalt. And Rick goes, don't say his fucking name when I'm getting you off.
Yeah, and I would like to know that this is Connor's private jet. The bathroom is still small. They're still like struggling a little bit with a very confined space.
Yes.
Yeah. And then, yeah, like they have, they're cute-ish time, but then it kind of gets a little bit more worrying.
Yeah, so Reich notices first. I think he like pulls her panties aside and sees that she's spotting, which it's not time for her period, so they're not entirely sure why she could be spotting. But at the same time, Daisy's like, I'm still in the mood, and unless you think it's gross, like, I still want to do this. And Reich respects that, and so they do have sex, but there's this moment where it hurts, and she does verbalize, because I think that was a thing that they had kind of talked about during that doctor's visit, where Daisy did admit to the doctor that occasionally sex can be painful with Reich, and she's just always assumed it's because Reich was big, but maybe it was her cysts that were causing the problem. And Reich was really upset that he never knew that Daisy hurt. He was really upset that she would hide that from him. So look at this growth. She's verbalizing that this hurts, and he 100% respects her, and like they stop
immediately.
But it's hard for her because she had been cheering that like her periods hadn't been really causing her a ton of pain, and this wasn't like, they haven't been successful in that they haven't seen, she's not pregnant yet, but like it's, other than that, she's been okay. And then she feels really sad that she like jinxed herself by cheering herself on, that like this has been totally fine and now there's pain. And she goes, you promise you'll still have sex with me after this? Not today, I just mean in the future. I don't want you to be afraid of me.
Yeah,
I've never been scared of you, sweetheart. That's not fucking changing now.
Yeah, and then they just, they kind of hold each other, and Reich helps her get dressed again.
There's a sad bit. Yeah, she's like, if we were the last two people on Earth, do you think we could survive? Just you and me, no doctors around to save us.
Oh. And he's like, I don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
Because he never wants to see her hurt. And
no, yeah.
His first priority, his first care is always Daisy. And he obviously really wants a baby, but I think more than that, he really wants to give Daisy a baby because she really wants one. But he's not going to do it when it causes her pain.
Yeah, yes. And then the chapter ends with, there's a knock. Or no, they open the door, and right on the other side of their door is Daisy's new bodyguard. So I don't know if we had talked about it. I think it's talked about in a chapter previous, and we didn't mention it. So she got that text that Mikey, her bodyguard, had quit, and it turned out he had like broken his leg while he was surfing. Because Daisy was kind of sad, like, why would Mikey give up on me like that? Why would he quit? And it's not that he gave up on her, it's just that he's injured and he needs to like take care of himself. So Greg has hired a new bodyguard, and his name is Price Kepler. I have my feelings about Price. Listen,
yes.
It's very exciting to see him now, whatever. I have my feelings about Price. I'll keep them to myself. Listen, I just have feelings about Price. That's it. They are what they are.
Very valid feelings.
I think so. But Reich is not happy about this. There are a couple of facts about Price. One, Greg hired him. Why did Greg hire him? We've talked about it at this point that like they are making their own decisions. Daisy has her own lawyer and her own financial advisor. They're taking a trip on Connor's airplane. Why can't they pick their own bodyguard? Why is Greg doing this?
Yes, why indeed?
He is like the opposite of what Reich is. He's very clean cut, just sort of like this preppy build. I don't know if I think it's later on that we learn that like I think he went to an Ivy League or he went to a really good school. He's smart. I think
Looks
he did
like your typical like upper class preppy man. And final point, he's very young. He's only 22.
Yes.
You know, so he's a
lot closer to Daisy's age.
Exactly. So, which is obviously kind of a thing for Reich and between like Reich and Greg. And even though Greg isn't that bad, you know, it's a point of, it's hard to say like insecurity because I don't think he is, but it's like, you know, Reich is aware that his age gap with Daisy isn't her parents' favorite thing. So it's kind of like, what is Greg thinking here? Like they can't really take it at surface value. They're thinking like, oh, you know, like all these things combined about Price. Like
yes.
Greg has an ulterior motive. No, that's Reich's thinking.
Yeah, there's definitely the sense of something else is going on right now. So Reich says like there's something in his gut that says there's something off about Price, and they don't necessarily trust him, which sucks because he's like fully in charge of taking care of Daisy, and there's a lot of trust that needs to happen in being a bodyguard.
Exactly. But yeah, so he's like right outside the door for some reason.
Yes. And I think the chapter had ended with how much did the bodyguard hear? Because again, they were just talking about having babies. And again, this guy feels like he's on Greg's payroll, and Greg doesn't know about the baby. The baby
it's
making.
Only really the people, I don't know if it's mentioned if Poppy knows, like Poppy, Sam, and Maria, but it's really like, so like Reich and Daisy have told, obviously Lily and Lo and Rose and Connor, and Willow potentially knows, but no one else. So it's like, did he hear them having sex? But somewhat more importantly, did he hear them talking about trying to have a baby?
Yeah.
And then it kind of, you know, Price is very like a pushy and like on top of his job as being a bodyguard, because he's like, it sounded like you were hurt in there, which gives me the ick because I'm like, why were you listening? But also it's like bad for Daisy and Reich because they're like, well, if he heard that.
Right, that was in the middle of sex.
That was before we started talking about babies, like.
And then there's this whole bit where also it's like, Price, we're on a plane, and
yeah, like what are you protecting her from?
Yeah, exactly. Like what? It feels like you're trying to protect Daisy from me, and like
exactly
why
that makes
her
him
fiance.
Angry.
Yes, it does make him really angry. And Daisy leaves. She's like gonna go get snacks for the two of them, and Connor comes over, and like Reich is like, on the one hand, Connor is on Reich's side. He's like, Daisy's on a plane. No one's going to hurt her unless you think her sisters are going to get up and like try and attack her. There's absolutely zero reason for you not to be sitting with the rest of the bodyguards and chilling. And Reich's over here like, okay, Connor's on my side. He's defending me. But also I don't want like Connor to fight my battles for me. And I'm still like really annoyed with him and the advice giving that he's been doing recently. Reich's just annoyed at everybody right now. And
when they kind of go back towards everyone, there's a really cute little moment, you know, after we spoke about like Moffy saying poo and then Moffy saying shit. I think it's that Lo and Moffy and Lily have moved into like the one bedroom on the plane.
Yeah, so it's Connor has come over to Reich and he's like, I need your help with something. Lo has been on the phone with work, and the whole agreement for this vacation was no work. And Reich's like, why can't you just take the phone away from Lo? Why do I have to be the hard ass? But that's just like, it is the dynamic that Connor is softer with Lo than Reich. Reich is the hard ass with him, and he's going to be the one to pull the phone away from Lo. Connor can't be that person for Lo. That's just not their dynamic.
And it's sad because, like Reich says, I'm fucking shit at being the bad guy here. And, he still has his, his insecurity about Lo and Connor's relationship compared to his with Lo. And obviously, we just had Lo being very thankful to Reich for, I guess, being the hot ass and getting him through 2 years of sobriety. But Reich doesn't always want to have that relationship with his brother. He would like to not have to always be the one who's being hard and strict.
But we'll see. There's also an ulterior motive with Connor with this. So they go into this room, or it's like one of the bedrooms, and it is Lo, Mafi, and Lily in the room. But yeah, there's this moment where Paul O'Hare was being a helpless dickhead, and Mafi goes, "Dickhead!"
Yeah, that's so cute. But yeah, so actually, like Lo isn't actually on the phone. He's playing with like block letters with Mafi, just being super cute. But there's another issue in the room.
Lily is sitting on the floor across the room from Lo, which is just, these two are constantly velcroed to each other. That is just the way that Lily and Lo are, and it's very jarring to see them not touching. And she's like,
and a very obvious sign that like something is wrong.
Yeah, and like Reich can tell that Connor's focus hasn't even been on Lo. He is zoomed in on Lily at this moment, and she's struggling with the fact that they did have to try and delegate for this family vacation, and she had to delegate to a bunch of like college students and high school students that work at Superheroes and Scones, and she has some really big things that are going on, and she's stressed, and all she can think about is sex right now, and she really doesn't want to be thinking about that, so she's just staying away from Lo.
Yeah, and I think in terms of Lily's enormous self-growth, she's also very self-aware that she's like, sex will make us feel better, but I don't want to self-medicate the sex and kind of fall back down bad paths.
She goes,
I
just have to stay away from Lo for a little bit because the only thing that sounds good right now is sex. And I'm pretty aware that I can't self-medicate with sex when I feel like everything is out of control. So there. I've never actually seen her admit to having cravings, not outright, not this directly, or honestly, not to a room filled with Connor, Lo, and me. She's like, yeah, and he says she doesn't even blush at the word. Like, Lily, I'm so proud of you.
I know. And he even says, I see her fucking strength. Oh, she is. She's so strong now. And it's so happy for these little characters.
I know. She's come truly so far since the beginning of this series. And
but then they have like
they have a cute moment. They talk about the fact that like, well, you guys are having a bad day, but Daisy's bodyguard might have heard us having sex.
Yeah.
In the bathroom and like talking about making babies.
Exactly. And then they kind of have a little like, they're all like why, Price, what is Greg doing? A little bit of that. I'm just all trying to figure it out. I think they're all on the same page. They're all a bit like, he's a bit suspicious. Is he a spy?
Yeah.
What is this man happening? But yeah, again, it's
like,
just,
what if he's a spy? And everyone Lo laughs at her.
Yeah. But it's just cute always there.
Yeah. This is after the spy thing, Reich admits that Daisy and I were talking about making babies in the bathroom and Price was outside the door. Making babies? Who says it like that?
He's adopting his fiance's lingo.
That's so good.
They all love each other so much, but they also have so much loving shit on each other.
They do. It's so great.
Especially Connor and Lo, that was especially Lo actually. He's like, why does Daisy speak like this?
Yes. So the chapter ends with Reich just hoping and hoping and hoping that Price is not there to fuck them over, that his intentions are good. The reason that he has been hired, the intentions are good. So now they are in Tahoe. They're going skiing. I love this bit.
Oh, it's Jane and Muffy being the cutest two little babies in the snow.
So cute. Yes, they're going ski. The two of them are going skiing for the first time, and they're getting their snow boots on, or their ski boots on, and Muffy's over here snow, and Jane's booze, booze, booze. It's just so cute.
You know, and it's also cute because they're like the Reich and Daisy know that they're usually, off on like the Black Diamonds. They're off on the
Yes.
really dangerous parts, but they can't miss this, and they're so happy to they just want to, we both want to witness this historic moment. And it's just adorable.
It's so cute, and they start betting. They're like, I bet Jane's gonna get up on her skis first, and or no, Daisy says, I bet Mafi's gonna get up on his skis first, and Reich's like, no,
Right.
Jane's got this.
Yeah.
Janie's got this. Rose is like, are you? Or one of them is like, are you betting on the babies?
Again.
I think it's Lily. Oh, it's, yeah. Are you betting on the kids again? Me? Yes, you. I heard you. You said something. I know you said something. And Daisy's like, depends on if Mafi stands up on his skis first. Then we're totally
Yeah.
betting on him. And Rose is like, why aren't you betting on Jane? This is like an act of sisterhood disloyalty. And Reich's like, I'm voting on Jane. And she goes, doesn't matter. Daisy needs to vote on Janie. I'm Team Lily for now, but Team Rose for later. And Lo gives her a look smooth. But while they're on the slopes, they can kind of hear there's like a crowd forming further down. And it's like their location is kind of leaked to the public, and people are out protesting again the fact that they're not doing this reality show, and they kind of talk about like how truly intense it is again, which
Again,
I think
we're
they
like,
try and
these people
justify
are
it
in
too.
a holiday destination. They're in Tahoe, they're on the mountains. Can these people not enjoy their holiday they've paid for?
Right.
Do these people not have a life? I don't
And they
understand.
try and justify it for the fans too, of like Lily and Lo are talking about, you can't say that if Marvel said that they were never going to make another comic book movie or something, that you wouldn't go to the Marvel offices and protest. But like, yeah, that's like Marvel's place of business. It's not
Like,
the employees going on vacation, a private family vacation, and
right,
protesting there.
exactly. You wouldn't be stalking Marvel CEO and like you'd make a little sign so that he's skiing with his kids, or he's having dinner, or he's buying his groceries. You just would bombarded with like, we disagree with your opinion.
Right.
But yeah,
And
it's obviously sad because it's a historic moment and it's this super cute moment. But even this has been infiltrated and kind of tainted by the presence of these so-called fans.
yes. So says, what does he say? Yeah, he goes, but that is excessive, and no offense to you Calloway girls, but you're not goddamn cool enough to elicit that kind of reaction. We're sisters. All sisters are cool by the nature of just being sisters. I love that. And she had noticed that there was like this, she can tell that Rose is being her OCD is flaring a little bit. Has her ski boots on, and she's like trying to dust snow off her boots, and she compliments Rose on them, and Lo has something snarky to say about it, and Rose doesn't really say anything back, which is completely unusual for her. But
Yeah,
after the sister's comment, she does say something like, I take offense to that, Lauren. And Daisy's like, Rose is back to herself. I like hearing her snap back to Lo like
yeah.
that.
The Callaway world is definitely not right if Rose and Lo aren't like snapping at each other.
Yeah. So after that, though, all of a sudden you hear Garth, who is Lily's bodyguard. He is shouting for Lo, and they suddenly see this
Yeah.
skier coming down the ski slope. Connor and Lo pick up the babies. Price he's broken away from the bodyguards. We saw it a little earlier in the chapter that like he's constantly like breaking away from the bodyguards. The rest of them are giving them distance, and Price just keeps coming over, and Daisy's like, go away, stay back. But in this moment, he's running to Daisy and trying to protect her. Reich is also protecting Daisy. So that just leaves Lily and Rose. Lily has fallen in her skis, and Rose is trying to help her up as the skier is like zipping down towards them. They have no idea who this is. And he gets close enough. Daisy notes that like Rose is actually covering up Lily in this moment and being her protector. And Rose gets a face full of flour, which it's not right to be flower bombed anyway, but this is Rose who is in.
Exactly. And she's having a bad day already.
Yes.
It's just, and Daisy, I think like Price holds Daisy back, but she's like, don't hurt my sisters, and like trying to like pelt snow at the skier, but the skier's getting away.
Yeah.
And it's just, she's like, I think for Daisy, who's so sunshiny and happy and very often, lets things go that other people wouldn't, especially like Rose or Reich, she
Yeah.
feels this foreign hate zip through her because, someone just hurt her sister for
Yeah.
something completely uncalled for.
Yeah, she's really upset about it. She's like shrieking, "Don't hurt my sister. You can't hurt us." So they race to the resort. They go into the men's bathroom.
Yeah, I think it's the only one that's free, and
Yes.
it's rather gross in there by anyone's standards, but Rose is covered in flour
Her
and
hair, it's all in her hair. Her precious hair. The one that she supposedly has brushed, she would brush like 100 times a night or whatever, 300 times a night. I can't remember the number. But yes, this is her precious, beautiful hair. Daisy is holding Janie, and Lily and Lo are taking care of Mafi because the bodyguards surrounded them. Mafi got really upset by all of the commotion and was crying, so they were taking care of him. So it's Connor washing out Rose's hair and Reich.
yeah, Rake's like holding the hair up so it doesn't touch
Yes.
the
Yeah, and she has like
repulsive basin, as Rose has put
right.
it.
I think they have to put like a coat down or something so that she can keep her hands on the basin too and not have to touch it or whatever. But
Yeah.
Connor is like washing her hair and she's real pissed. Like, obviously, her OCD is flaring, but she's also like fucking pissed that someone has attacked them again.
Yeah, and she really wants to do something about it.
Yes. She's like,
Especially
we
because,
need,
like the children are there.
yes, they were right there. And like, it wasn't like they were in the car the last time they were out in the open. And
And someone just
who
came
knows?
at them so fast.
Yeah, who knows who they could have been targeting. Like, those, he threw it at the two that are mothers and could have, in theory, been holding their kids.
Exactly.
So yeah,
It's like,
Rose
also,
is,
what do they think they're going to achieve with the flower bombs? They're just causing them, pain and discomfort, but what they think they can abuse them into doing the show. The common sense, it's not there.
it's not. But yeah, so like you said, Rose really wants to do something about this. She's ready to go like track this person down. And what does she, it comes out as, where is the line?
She says, "We have to go get them." Her words rumble with anger. "We can't just stand here and do nothing. And we have to go now. I'll recognize his
Yes.
eyes."
Yes. But then, so there's this whole, oh, yes, Lo is ready to do it. Like, Lo is ready to go after them too. And Reich's like, yeah, I'll go find him. And they're like, crap, I hate when Lo, Rose, and me are on the same side. There's the hot tempered dragon.
It's so much
Usually,
fun when they're together.
but like the fact that they're also aware of it and like can recognize when they're being the hot tempered dragon.
And they definitely feed off each other as well.
They do. They truly do. So Connor is being his like cool, calm, collected self and trying to rationalize like there are hundreds of people at this resort. They all recognize your face. What are you planning on doing that doesn't involve everyone swarming you for autographs and selfies? Give me a better plan and I'll let you go. And she goes, "I'm not writing up a business proposal for you, Richard. I'm defending myself and our unborn child." Bum bum bum.
Oh dear. And yeah, she tries to, I think, cover up her slip a little bit. Hello.
Phoebe tried to come say hi, but she's done now.
Oh, she's so cute.
She's a
I was
good
just
girl.
just
Yes.
saying, so obviously like this big bomb has been dropped and Rose tries to cover up her slip immediately because, she knows that this is not like the best news for Eric and Daisy, but obviously, Lo and Lily also catch on, and Lo has like a snarky remark, and it's so he does get Rose to confirm, and she's like, "I'm pregnant," and
It's crazy
yeah,
too, because like they all recognize it. Daisy's like got this look of she's smiling, but it's not necessarily like this brimming with happiness smile. It's like
yeah, it's a weak smile. It says
yeah,
just
that's
between happiness and pain, and I'm
yeah.
like,
And
my heart
Lily's
is
over here
breaking
like,
for Daisy.
is this a good thing? Yeah, because again, we had said that Rose and Connor had been that surrogacy back burner option. And now that
Yeah,
option's gone. And as we've kind of learned, we didn't mention it, but Daisy did wind up texting her doctor about the fact that she was spotting on the plane, and the doctor was like, it shouldn't ruin your vacation. We'll talk about it when you get back. But obviously it's kind of a setback in her fertility journey. So already they're like feeling kind of on shaky ground of whether they'll be able to conceive naturally. And now this other option that was supposedly there for them is unavailable right now.
Because obviously, I think at that first appointment with Dr. Yoshida, you know, Daisy tries to make things better by saying, like, Rose, we should be pregnant at the same time. And then Rose is like, no, like, I don't want to be so that I can be your surrogacy option. But then, so it's like, well, that's not happening. But, you know, Daisy does say, I'm happy for you, Rose. Please, you have to believe that I am. I really am. And she is, but also she's, you know, I think she's less upset about not having the potential of Rose being her surrogate, and she's more upset that she's not also pregnant. So Daisy's crying, and then they have a really cute, like, you know, Rose is like, I'm here for you, I'm the older sister. And it's very, very cute. And then Connor comes in and gives another, like, kind of
bomb drop.
Yeah, and he says, actually, it wasn't an accident. We weren't being as careful as we could have been. And, you know, he very much, like, you know, Reich says, you know, he could have let them all believe it was a mistake. But we talked about this, that in that first doctor's appointment, Connor very much eyed Daisy when she was like, oh, let's be pregnant at the same time. He knew, you know, they go to the same therapist. He was completely aware of what Daisy's ulterior motive was. And he says that. He says, Daisy designed this entire scenario of Rose and her being pregnant at the same time under false pretenses. You want Rose pregnant too because you're scared of hurting her if something catastrophic happens. If you die. You don't want to cause your sister pain, so maybe this way her own child will be a distraction if something were to happen to you. So I think it's quite harsh. It's quite a like way of him saying, you know, like, oh, we kind of got pregnant on purpose so that you can't be like, use that as an excuse, because he was really saying, like, Daisy, you want Rose to be pregnant at the same time so that if you die, you think she'll be okay because she has a baby. Yeah. And so he means well.
He does. I like that. I mean, not that necessarily, the approach to it.
Yeah.
But when he says a world where there are 5 of us instead of 6 will never be a happy one.
Really see a little bit further into Connor than usual, because I feel like in the non-like Kabbalaway books, it's a bit harder to see Connor's like heart.
Yes,
but there are moments
where he's learning to put his heart on his sleeve a little, a weensy bit.
A tiny weeny bit for the others.
Yes. I also like the end of this chapter that they do the whole like, all right, well, what have we learned from this whole experience? And it's that none of us want Reich and Daisy to die, that Flower cannot defeat me, that the Cobalts will never announce a goddamn pregnancy the way ordinary people do.
And then Daisy,
that Reich has the best ass. And then right as it's Reich's turn, the police who had been trying to find this flower bomber walk in with a not so good expression on their face, and Reich's lesson is justice never comes easy.
This is the second time, so, you know, again, they haven't been able to catch them, and it's just like, there's no, you know, Rose can say, Flower won't defeat me, but there's no consequences for these awful people doing this. And there's, like, you know, in their mind, it's like, they can't really have any peace or any security, because it's like, people always find where we are, so when's, like, will this just happen again? So, not great.
No.
But then we move into chapter 24.
Yes. So Daisy kind of catches us up that Rose and Connor have been like in contact with the police. They're really trying to find out who this guy is, but they've been unsuccessful. And Lily is like, she mentions that Lily is adopting her hermiting phase that she had when the public like first latched on to them. And Lo is joining her, and Reich and Daisy don't appreciate how they've like fucked with their family. So they decide that they're going to try and find this flower bomber, and it is called Reich and Daisy's Grand and Daring Stakeout #1.
Yes. So we have Reich on the phone with their private investigator.
Yes.
They're like, no one is going to, this like ruining of our holiday, it's not going to go unanswered. And it's a little adventure for them as well. So it's very fitting in more than one way. They've got little snacks for their stakeout.
Daisy's got a wig. She's
Oh, they
in
have
a
a little
wig to
disguise.
disguise herself.
It's cute. So she's got platinum blonde.
Yes, a platinum blonde bob. After this talk with the private investigators, it seems like the flower bombers aren't necessarily connected. Like the first flower bomber is not really in relation to the second one. People are just sort of inspired by that first guy to try and do it themselves. And there is a forum that was out there that at one point was called Callow Haters. And people were like organizing, which, Jesus Christ, that is way too much. If you dislike them, just they don't need to be in your lives. You don't need to make a whole
I
fucking
always think
forum and
that
trying to.
it's crazy because if you don't like something, just scroll or don't look at it or just don't engage. Like it takes so much energy to just like type a nasty comment, but it also takes so much energy to be in another forum, to be like engaging with other people. And it's like, you're crazy. Where's your job?
Truly.
Do you not have something to do? Like, how do you have the time and the energy
like you had to
to be
travel
doing this?
in some distance. Like even if you were a local to Tahoe, you still had to travel to the resort, possibly buy. I mean, I'm going way too into it, but like buy a ski ticket, come skiing down the slope. Where's this money? How are you paying for this?
Especially if you don't have a job so that you can have all the time for this. Where's the money?
It's ridiculous.
But it's also creepy because it talks about how they exchange info on where they are, asking others who are in the area to be like, oh, you live near there, you go and do it. And it's like, is this a fucking cult? It's crazy.
It's very creepy behavior. So Daisy was like, well, we can just track down IP addresses or whatever. He explains that like the name of the forum could have changed at this point. It's really hard to try and find these people at this point.
Yeah.
But their private investigator does have some kind of idea, a lead maybe. So, and he's nearby. I think he's like staying in a motel or something nearby.
Yeah. So they go and stake out the place.
Yeah. And as you said, they have their snacks. Daisy also has some magazines. So they'd been sitting in the car for a couple of hours, and that's just not the Daisy way. She likes to move around, and she is confined into a car, trying not to be conspicuous, and they're getting on each other's nerves. So to distract themselves, Daisy is like going through the tabloids and reading the headlines, trying to find a relatively decent, nice headline. They're not. She thinks she finds one about Lo being a good dad, and it's not. It's about like Lily not wanting to have another kid or something like that.
And then,
So then they reach another one that Reich reads it. He like pulls the tabloid out of her hand and reads the headline, and he doesn't even want to finish it. And she's like, no, give it to me. I want to know what it is. And it says
a little grapple. Yeah.
Yeah. Three's Company, how Lily Calloway jingles Reich and Lawrence bells this Christmas. And it just sucks that these stupid... God, I have talked about these three-way rumors since Addicted for Now, how mad I am that this has even
haunts
started.
All of them. And... it just for Daisy specifically, it just, and also we know what else this brings, so
yeah,
it's just one of the most frustrating things.
And it does hurt for Daisy because she's like, it's disappointing to find out that people would rather pair him with my sister than with me. It's like, what's wrong with me? Why can't you see Reich making me happy? Because he does make me happy, and why can you not see that?
Yeah, and
it just hurts.
Yeah, I mean, she says, explains it to Wright by saying, like, how would you feel if all of these magazines said the Eyes of Connor?
Right.
It's like one thing to see it like once, but to see it over and over and over again really plays on Daisy's insecurities.
Yeah, and like there are different feelings, like because Reich's over here like, I don't care what these tabloids say. This doesn't hurt me. I know it's real. But Daisy has different feelings, and both of them are valid. But yeah, so for her, she's allowed to feel upset over this, and she's trying to explain that to Reich, like where her logic is coming from. Because I think it wasn't necessarily, we didn't necessarily fully bring it up, but like I think it was mentioned in one of the old chapters that like they really try to communicate really clearly with each other. And this is a moment where Daisy's like communicating why she's upset about this. And I do like that they have that.
Yeah.
I am not a fan of the miscommunication trope, and these two don't fall into it at all.
No,
They make sure
it's so
everything's
good.
very clear.
I feel like exactly like they're the people who never let an argument sit. They never let
No, they
any
don't.
kind of feeling, like if they can tell also when the other one's feeling a certain way, or like if they're a bit more quiet, or they're just, you know, they have a look in their eye and they're like, well, but let's deal with it. Let's talk about it.
Yes. I'm like trying to think, because there are certain moments within the series that I can think of where like Rose has been annoyed with some, like disagrees with something that Connor did, and she has held a grudge. And there are moments where Lily and Lo have gone into an argument and it is like lasted pretty long, but I don't know if I can think of a time where Reich and Daisy have had a disagreement where they haven't worked it out by the end of that conversation.
And that's really special. And that's really, really important in a relationship. And especially in, like, you know, Reich and Daisy's relationship, where there are so many external things that they have to fight against.
They're
and
not
obviously people, exactly. And, but yeah, like people deal with things differently, and then, but they're able to communicate it and work things out, and it's perfect.
Yes.
So they have a little makeup and kind of get through that together.
And then this guy comes out of this guy that they had been staking out suddenly comes out of his hotel room or whatever. Reich gets out so that he can confront him about what's been going on. And Daisy's like, I'm about to go with him, but for some reason my bottom stays glued to the seat. My instincts are saying, do not move, Daisy Petunia Calloway, sit right here. And she listens to her gut and just trusts what she's feeling. And she mentions that like Reich wasn't expecting me to come. He's not looking back, waiting for me to follow him. Just like they know each other so well.
Yeah. And it's good that she stayed in the car. Like, you know, they have no idea of how this guy could be.
Their bodyguards are not with them. It's just the two of them.
And it sucks, but, you know, Reich is better suited to defending himself against should anything happen.
Yeah. And when he gets back, it's basically revealed that like this guy said he had no idea about the forum. So he could either be lying or he's not the guy that they were looking for, and they have no idea.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, then they say
she goes, is this the last stakeout? He goes, when have we ever done any fucking thing just once?
Yeah. We have more adventures in Reich and Daisy's future. Stakeout adventures.
Yeah. So now it is Christmas morning.
Yeah. We're back with the family.
Yeah. They're still in Tahoe. And they're like, they've moved on to like couples Christmas gifts, and they're going in turns, and Reich and Daisy have tried to like pawn off their turns to open their presents. They're like, they don't want everyone to know.
Yeah. It's a cute idea, but then there are some that's like, you just want to open your present in private.
Right. And they find Daisy's present to Reich, but there is no physical Reich present to Daisy. And where is Daisy's present? This has been a whole thing since, like, I think Addicted After All was when they mentioned it the first time. I can't remember. But, like, ever since Reich and Daisy have gotten together, it's been this whole thing of, like, Reich is so shitty at giving her gifts. He just got her a Valentine's Day gift, but her birthday's coming up, and like, I have to get her a gift for that. Daisy doesn't want a lot. It's like, they're not materialistic people. So it's always like, what am I gonna give Daisy?
And the rest of them obviously like shitting on him.
Yeah, I know. I think they kind of understand that like a physical gift is not necessarily what Reich and Daisy gift to each other, but there's the whole like, sex isn't a Christmas gift, bro. And Lily's like, does that mean we're not gonna? But
yeah,
like, yes, we're gonna do it, but that's not my Christmas gift to you.
Yeah, and then they're just like, he's just like, just let me open my present. And like, Reich is like, just enough.
Yeah, we're done.
But yeah, so, and Daisy, I think, I don't know, Reich doesn't really know what it is, but he knows that, I think he gets a sense from Daisy that, like, you know, it wouldn't be best to open it in front of everyone, but they can't really get out of that. And Daisy shrugs at Reich, like, you know, maybe Lo will be okay with it. So Reich does have to open the present, and It's a plane ticket to Norway. And he's about to say thank you because, it means he like instinctively starts smiling. It means a lot to him. And it's very much a present that Daisy just knows Reich so well.
Yes.
But Lois sat right there and wants to look at it. And he does have a look at it and
the whole intention behind this plane ticket is that he's going to go ice climbing with Sully in Norway. And it's very meaningful for him to receive that from Daisy because it's continued validation that like his passion of climbing is still very valid, that she still supports him even though they've had some trickier moments with his climbing in the past year. It doesn't matter. She wants him to enjoy this with Sully. Lo is upset. He's like, Daisy, why are you supporting this? And Reich's like, I would have gone either way. Like, she just paid the money for the plane ticket that I don't have to pay for, but I would have gone.
Yeah. And then it turns Lo shoots like Daisy a nasty look, and Reich is instantly like almost shouting, like protecting Daisy from Reich. Protecting Daisy from Lo.
But then the big thing is Lo is like, where's the line? Oh, well, they're trying to distract the kids too. They're so cute. They're like, does anyone want hot chocolate or cookies? And Mafi's like, cookies! Yeah.
Oh, Daisy's so cute with him.
I know. You can clearly see how she'd be such a good mother. He's like, cookies? You like cookies too?
Yeah.
So sweet.
Aww. And they go to have cookies.
Yeah. So Lily takes Mafi out. Everyone can see that this is like reaching a boiling point between Lo and Reich. He's really upset over this Christmas present. And he goes, where's the line? Oh, there it is. Go fly to your death, Jonathan Reich Meadows. See if I care. And then, that's the moment where Daisy's like, let's start moving people out of here.
Yeah.
She knows something that Lo doesn't know. Reich just
decides to
he
tell
talks
her
about how he's kept secrets from Lo in the past. That was their whole thing, their whole blowout in Hot House Flower, Thrive, their fight was because Reich was not open with Lo, and he has kept this a secret, but it's been a secret for like 2 weeks, so he hasn't been holding on to this for too long, so we can give him a little bit of grace. But he does drop the bomb that he is no longer Jonathan Reich Meadows. He's now just Reich Meadows. But his I can't remember when it was talked about which book, where Lo wants to give, I think it was maybe this one. Lo wanted to give Reich shares in Haleco because Reich never had shares because
Jonathan
it would have looked really
him.
weird for this random kid to be getting shares in Haleco that had like no affiliation with Jonathan.
Yeah.
He never had Haleco shares. Instead, he got more money in his trust fund. And there was only one stipulation with his trust fund, and that was that he had to maintain his name, Jonathan Reich Meadows. So now he no longer has his trust fund.
Yeah.
And that, it terrifies Lo because all of Reich's money is now going to come from climbing and sponsorships and Reich risking his life just to make money. And that's so scary for him. He cannot support that. And they get into a fight. They start fist fighting over this. They're really mad.
I think because, they start with just kind of screaming at each other and Lo feeling like Reich doesn't understand. And obviously from Reich's side, Lo doesn't understand because it's, Lo's like, just stop climbing. And he's like, you wouldn't stop even for Daisy. And that's not what it is.
Right.
Lo, and then, they're shoving each other. They fall into the Christmas tree.
Oh my God.
It's very chaotic, but it kind of also is like a long time coming. They've been like kind of fighting at each other over months over Reich's climbing. So yeah. I think they're both like Lo is crying, or he has a tear.
He says kill yourself climbing, see if I care. Lo really does care. I think
Reich
some of it
so
stems from
now.
He talked about that Reich was there for him. Lo struggled a lot with his sobriety, and Reich has been this pillar for him for several years now. He's grown really close to this brother, and he grew up as an only child and now suddenly has siblings that like are truly meaningful to him. So I can understand some of his fear of like, I don't want to lose this. I know what it was like to be without you, and I'd rather be with you than be without you. And there's just an inherent risk in your passion that scares me, that could potentially take you away from me. And I don't know how to grapple with that.
Yeah. Because I think for Lo, it feels like, he finally has everything. Him and Lily are together and in the open. He has Muffy, he has Hale Co, they have a house, he has Willow, he has his brother, he has Connor, his friend, and now it's like he could very easily lose Right.
Yeah.
And he can't understand like why his brother wouldn't stop so that wouldn't happen. But he struggles to see like, Reich says, you're asking me to cut myself off at the knees.
Yeah.
As a kid, it was the only thing, ascending was the only thing that would grind at my bones, that called me to wake up, that pushed me to go. And he's never gone a year without climbing.
Yeah. It is in his soul and his blood. That's just who Reich is. He is not the same person if he's not climbing. Yeah. So
it's sad, the girls are crying, Muffy's confused, and it's very tense between the brothers.
Yeah. And Reich tries to reach Lo too. He's like, have you ever had something that you've loved? Not someone, but something. And Lo is purposely trying to be sassy, and he goes, whiskey, which drinking's not a hobby. It's a thing. When you love something so much, it feels impossible to let it go. It's like a kid. Can't you understand that? Please fucking hear me.
It's so sad from everyone's perspective.
It is. Like, I can understand where everyone's coming from. I feel like all of their feelings are really valid, but I just want everyone to be happy. Stop fighting over this. It's Christmas, guys.
Yeah. And I think, it ends kind of with, Reich is saying he'll think about everything, but he's sorry, and he says he wishes, like, I wish I could just give it up. This would be so much fucking easier if I could just say goodbye. But it's been his life for 20 years, basically.
It's saying goodbye to who he is.
Very hard, but obviously, he also doesn't want to leave Daisy, and he does really value the relationship he has with his brother. So I think that's why he does, say like he'll think about it.
Yeah, which I think is quite a bit of growth from Reich too, because there was definitely a time where he would have just been like, he didn't have anyone.
Yeah.
Like, if he did die, who is he truly leaving behind at that point?
Exactly. It's just...
Now he has a lot of people that would care if he left.
Yeah.
And he recognizes that
definitely
and
that
doesn't want to hurt them.
Yeah. I think definitely in the earlier books, he was like, he could see his decisions didn't sit well with people, but he was like, okay, well, and just did them. But yeah, he's like all of the characters has had this fantastic character growth and real developmental arc.
Yes. All right. So the last chapter that we're going to talk about in this part is Daisy's Christmas gift, which, as we see, could not possibly be wrapped and put under a Christmas tree. Reich has connections. Daisy talks about how like it's so incredible, this climbing community, that Reich has these connections all over the country, the world, and this climbing person was able to get them a horse-drawn sleigh, and they're gonna take a trip
through the
snowy wilderness in a sleigh ride. It's so cute.
It is so cute.
And she asks him, how did you know that this was the can't eat, can't sleep, reach for this, I don't want to mess it up, can't eat, can't sleep, reach for the stars, over the fence, World Series kind of stuff.
Is this the first time she says that? It's such an iconic quote.
It is. She says it in Hot House Flower. That's the first time she says it. But it's just like this feeling in her that has not gone away. And they decide that they will share when they knew that this was the can't eat, can't sleep, reach for the stars, over the fence, World Series kind of stuff on their wedding day. It's going to be kind of like their vows.
I think it's so cute. And
she's like, you really want to share that with everyone? Because Reich, despite the fact that they are so affectionate out in the open, they're also pretty private. They're generally a pretty private couple.
Yeah,
in other
definitely.
ways. And she's like, you want to share this with others at our wedding? And he's like, yeah, everyone can know. It's fine. And she is like, all right, so we've made this pact, but
But
I have
I
this
have this
theory.
theory.
Her theories that pacts aren't truly bound until we fuck, have sex, make love
All
all
at
at
once.
once. Oh, Daisy, I love you. They he they're clearly in the mood, but Reich kind of switches the conversation into this moment of like daydreaming. It's so cute. So it starts out with, you think we'll live until we're 70? And he says, yeah, we'll be fucking old with blown out knees and aches and pains. Which, one, they're not 70 in the Legas series, but the fact that Reich is 50 at that point, like, just
Yeah.
this whole thing of him not being able to get old, like, may not be old, but he's like 50. It's happening.
I know.
But Daisy says, I like this theory, but it's missing someone. And he goes, he or she. And it's like this first time that they really start to fantasize about this future family member of theirs.
Yeah.
And Daisy says she. And Reich wants to know, what's her name? He's very insistent that Daisy needs to pick this name. She's like, Reich picks better names than me. But he's like, no, I want this to be meaningful for you. This is going to be your choice. 1, 2, 3. Yeah. 1, 2, 3. Top of your head. What's the name? Minnie Meadows, which I don't know if it was,
Cutest name.
I don't know if it's ever been confirmed because I've seen it. Like, I've seen the question asked in the Facebook group, but I don't think I ever saw Krista or Becca reply with the official confirmation. But I don't know. I've always assumed that it's Daisy and Minnie, like Daisy Duck and Minnie Mouse.
Oh, yes, that's so cute.
I
And
don't
it's very
know.
fitting.
Someone
I always just
asked
think it's
that,
such an
and I
adorable
don't.
name.
Yeah, I just have that in my head. That's where it came from, but I don't know if I've ever seen confirmation about that.
It's very cute to think of it as.
They're
I just want
besties. Daisy
I
and Minnie are
know.
besties, and she's gonna have her little mini me be her bestie.
Yeah, I think you can tell from how Daisy is with Jamie and with Moffy that like she would just be such an incredible mom and like super involved and just there and like you said, there for the baby with everything, best friends with her kid. It's just I want it so badly for Daisy.
Me too.
I was gonna
Okay.
say, Reich's his explanation was really cute. He was like, I don't want her named after something I did alone.
Yes.
And they because they're talking about Coconut, Daisy's husky, and she's like, Reich is like, I fucking love Coconut's name because I see you in her, and it's even better that it's like they want the name to come to be together, but also Reich's like, I want it to be like a memory of you and to be about you. She's like, oh.
Yes.
So it's just really cute, and it's obviously this picturesque scene. They're like on this carriage, this red carriage drawn by a horse in the snow, like at nighttime. Just like so romantic.
Truly so romantic. Everyone's like, Reich doesn't know what to get Daisy. He's not like the romance type. He knows what he's doing.
He does, he does. Because I think that's not even just by fans like us, but I think the other couples be like, oh, Reich's not that romantic. And he is at times. Are we forgetting how this man proposed? That was so romantic.
Romantic, the most beautiful gesture. Yeah.
But yeah, so it's then they had to have their little adventure that they were test Daisy's theory to seal their
Yes.
pact.
Yes. And the way it ends, even though the universe rarely tilts our way in the second on this magical sleigh, I pretend we're going to live forever. That we'll have a mini meadows and no one will smite us for our love. Just this once. They'll have their mini meadows.
You know.
Listen, I have my mystical ball. I've seen the future.
Yeah.
I know what happens.
We know that they have it, and there's two people who just deserve it so, so badly.
They do.
It does hurt to think, though, when she's like, that no one will smite us for her love, and that to even think that they should be. But obviously, that's so many people in their lives.
Yeah.
Like, and not just like fans and like random people they don't know, but even like their families, their parents, not their siblings, obviously, but who did kind of act like that their love was something to be looked down on, something to be something bad. It's like, no. And and they're gonna have their mini. It's just,
They will.
yeah.
All right, so we are going to end here with part 3 of the Long Way Down discussion, and we will pick back up with part 4 in next week's episode. So until then, continue to stay addicted to Krista and Becca's writing like us.